Ahoy!
Welcome to another episode of the Bottom of the Stream Movie Show. My name is Adam.
My name's Nick. Welcome aboard. It's time for us to take a delve into the stream, the Netflix stream, and see what movie gems we dredge up, if any.
And we are going on a boat this week.
Actually, what I was going to say, and I think that's what threw me off, because I literally wanted to spit it out. This movie's on a boat. We're on a boat.
We're on a boat. The movie's on a boat. Well, it's on a boat for a bit.
Yeah. There's boats in this movie.
There's boats in this movie. It's exciting. The movie we're talking about, of course, is Against the Ice. Against the Ice was only released last March it came out. It's a 12. It runs for 1 hour, 42 minutes. Currently rated at 6.5 out of 10 on IMDb and is a Netflix original.
Good rating.
It is a good rating.
Do you know what I find interesting about that rating?
What's that?
And we'll get into this later. I'm not sure what you're going to have thought about this movie.
Okay. I don't really know what you're going to think.
And
I think I've got an idea, but
it feels like, considering after I watch this movie,
yeah,
what I tend to do is go and do a bit of reading.
Same.
I quite like to read a few reviews, see how it's generally perceived, and that rating doesn't necessarily tie up with a lot of the reviews.
No, it doesn't. I agree with that. I did read
some of the reviews that I've read.
It's a highly rated movie.
Yeah, which suggests maybe audiences like it a bit more than the critics.
Yeah, probably.
Well, let's
see.
Interesting.
It's a co-production between Iceland and Denmark.
Nice.
But it's set in Greenland.
Yep.
And it's spoken in English. So it's very multicultural, this movie. Came out March 2nd, 2022. Stars a guy called Nikolaj Coster-Waldau. He plays Ejnar. Obviously, you're going to know him from Game of Thrones. I think that's his most famous role. He played Jaime Lannister in Game of Thrones for many years. He's also been on this show before.
He has.
He was in a movie called Small Crimes.
Yeah, I barely remember it, other than we didn't really like it.
Dreadful. I think did he come bottom or close to bottom of the stream table?
24th out of 25 in season 2.
It's really handy having these posters knocking around the room, isn't it? I've got a really big one to go on the wall in here, so I'm excited by it.
Yeah, poster.
I might put it here behind. Yeah, I might put it behind me so you can always tell me where.
Yeah, I'll stare at your big one. Yeah,
thank you. Wouldn't be for the first time. Also, this movie stars Joe Cole, not the footballer.
Oh, okay.
He plays Ivar Iverson. Most famous, he was in Peaky Blinders for a long time.
I've never watched it.
I've never watched Peaky Blinders either. But
my neighbour loves it. He's like, Peaky Blinders, love it. Goes to like Peaky Blinder nights.
Oh, really?
Yeah, where you wear a flat cap and a little waistcoat. And
that sounds horrendous. I don't think I'd do that. I don't even think I'd go to a lost night.
What would a lost night be?
Sit on a beach with some plane crash stuff around you, dressed as John Locke. He was also in Green Room. He was in Green Room, which is a great movie. We haven't done it on the show, but we've done a couple of movies by the director, Jeremy Saulnier, on the show. And he's most recently been in Gangs of London, the TV show on that. Okay. He's very much typecast as a young, plucky gangster. That's what he's...
An artful dodger type.
Absolutely. Written by Nikolaj Coster-Waldau, this movie.
Yeah.
And alongside a guy called Joe Derrick, who has no further credits on IMDb. Okay. So may possibly not be real. But it's based on a novel. It's based on not a novel, a book.
Not a biography, but an account of this expedition.
Yes, exactly. The book was released in 1955, and it's called Farling Thomas Fand, which translates to, it's not against the ice, it's something along those lines.
It's two men again on the ice.
Something like that. It was written by Ejnar Mikkelson, who's the main character in this book, based on his own adventures, exploring, mapping, and discovering Greenland. Yeah. That's what he did. That's what he was famous for. And directed by a guy called Peter Flinth, who has directed quite a few things, but they're all in Danish, so nothing you've heard of, I don't think. Oh, I've missed a page in my notes. I've just got a blank page.
You'll have to work that back into a future movie.
I will. That'd be confusing. Do you, Nicholas, have a one-word review of Against the Ice?
Jaime Lannister crazy.
Jaime Lannister crazy. I like it. Charles Dance is also in this movie. He was Jaime Lannister's dad in Game of Thrones.
I do not remember that.
He's also been in something with Joe Cole as well. I can't remember what it was, but he's been in with films with both of them before. Where does this film start, Nick?
Snow. Ice.
It doesn't only start in snow. There's a lot of snow.
Sleds.
Yeah.
Maps.
Yeah.
Expedition montage. Is that what you want to call it?
I've written some men on a dog sled.
Yeah.
That's where it starts. Over a credit sequence, that's basically some men heading somewhere on a dog sled. One doesn't look very well. He's lying on the dog sled. The other one's controlling.
this is not our expedition, as we find out.
This is the tail end of another one.
2 men returning to base, returning to the ship.
So basically, they return to a ship that is trapped in the ice somewhere in the Arctic. Some men on a boat is my first note. And they spot them and they go off and rescue them and bring them in. And it seems like they've been away for a while, these men, exploring. And then one of them's got a bit of frostbite.
He's got manky feet.
He has got manky feet.
This is Jorgensen.
George Jorgensen.
Yeah.
They chop off his toes.
Yeah, they do.
It's rank. I don't like toes.
Yeah. He's got old black toes and feet.
Yeah, they chop off some of his toes to save him from the frostbite. That's the first thing. And then it hits into the title card. So that's basically a little prologue.
Yeah. It's Christmas Eve.
It's a Christmas movie. Of course it is. There's so much snow. It had to be a Christmas movie.
This movie is set over about 3 years, so there's many Christmas. There's actually many. It's a multi-Christmas movie.
It's mentioned a few times. It's Christmas Eve, 1909, and we're in northeast Greenland, according to the card that comes up on the screen. And they're having a Christmas party to toast the previous expedition that has just come back, but also one that didn't return.
Yes.
There were some men who haven't come back.
So essentially, this boat was a rescue mission.
Yes.
Or a
recovery
mission.
Yeah. Or both. They thought they were going on a rescue mission. It ended up being a recovery mission. But they weren't recovering the bodies of the people. They were trying to recover the data that they'd found.
Well, kind of both. The captain says that we found no sign of the vanished expedition, but we did find this. And he produces a diary and a map.
Yes. So these people are... Greenland at this point is undiscovered. Or most parts of... Unmapped. Parts of Greenland are unmapped. And the Americans are staking a claim because they believe there's a land bridge between Greenland and the United States.
Yeah, they believe there's a channel through Greenland as well. Yes. So basically, a previous American expedition has mapped or been trying to map Greenland, and they believe that there's a channel that separates part of the island. Yeah, 2 chunks. So America is laying a claim to northern Greenland. So
Denmark are trying to map it and disprove it and debunk the Americans' claim. This is basically your premise of this movie. This is what these guys are trying to do. They did find a diary and a map, and so that makes the captain, Ejnar, want to go back out again.
Because there's a cairn on the map.
Yes.
And Ejnar, being an experienced explorer again, they wouldn't have built a cairn
if they hadn't got something to put in it.
Yeah, something to hide.
So a cairn is like a pile of stones.
Do you know what a cairn was?
No.
Did you not?
No.
Oh, okay.
Why, did you?
No, well, yeah. I just thought it was really...
You're a lot more outdoorsy than I am.
I just thought it was quite clunky the way a cairn was explained in this film. Because Ivar, who we will come to be one of our main characters, basically asked the question, what's a cairn?
Yeah.
And another guy around the table go, it's a pile of rocks.
Yeah. I honestly, genuinely didn't know that.
Usually at the top of a mountain.
Yeah, so it's basically a big pile of rocks that you can put stuff inside to protect it from the elements. Yeah?
Yeah, or it denotes like the high point of a mountain or hill. Or,
So the captain announces that he's going back out. He needs to finish his mission. He can't go home.
They want to get to the cairn and see what's there.
Yeah, they can't go home anyway.
He believes there may be proof.
Yeah, they can't go home anyway. The ship is icebound or whatever you call it. And so he wants to go back out. He wants a volunteer to go with him because George Jorgensen can't go with him.
Problem is,
he asks for a volunteer.
This cairn's about 500 miles north.
Yes. Through the grisly Arctic.
And this map is all they've got.
Yeah.
And no one's ever drawn a map of this, but this is the only map of this
area.
Yeah.
And it's hand-drawn, crudely drawn, with some diary entries explaining it. He doesn't get a volunteer.
He does not. And some days pass on this ship.
Some days pass, and nobody's that keen. But then we meet Ivar, not for the first time, but this is where we kind of get to know him a little bit. He reveals that he is a fan of the captain. He's read books that the captain has written in the past. He is a fan of him. And he's like, I might volunteer. He says it to the other guys. And the other guys are like, well, he's just a lowly mechanic on the ship. He didn't even come aboard at the start of the mission. He came aboard.
No, they had to sack their engineer because he was drunk.
Somebody else in Reykjavik. Yeah. But he does eventually, after a bit of persuasion, does go to the captain and volunteer his services.
And Captain Mikkelson just says, I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
And then we see, not a montage, but a couple of scenes of Ivar being shit at everything that would be useful, like
dog sledding.
Attaching the sleds to the dogs.
And he gets attached to the dogs, which you can't do because you're not going to come back with all of those dogs. No
Instantly, one of the other crewmates goes, "Don't make friends with the dogs."
Yeah.
Because
at some point you're going to have to shoot the weakest dog and feed it to the other dogs. What we should say is there's a lot of dog death in this movie. If that is a trigger for you, go on to doesthedogdie.com maybe before you watch this movie, because
I'm going to say it now. No dogs make it out of this movie.
They do not.
And there's a lot of dogs at this point in this movie.
Yeah, there's... You text me and said this is a bloody canine massacre, and it is. This is not. If you're a dog lover, this might not be the movie for you.
Yeah,
especially 1, 2, maybe 3 scenes. It's brutal. So yeah, the captain's asking the other crew members' opinion on Ivor as well, because he doesn't know him that well. Ivor's also called Ivor Iverson.
Yeah. I love the character names.
I do as well. Yeah, well, they're real people.
Yeah, I know. But it just makes it really easy.
It just means your dad's got the same name as you, doesn't it?
Also, it was obviously quite pertinent because of what's been going on in the news the last few weeks. But because obviously this is set in 1909, one of the big topics that the crew's talking about as they're just milling around the ship is the fact that this huge technological advancement in seafaring is being launched soon. The Titanic.
The Titanic's being built and launched, and they're all getting quite excited about it. They're like, well, maybe we could get a job on it. Maybe we can... Because Ivor said he wants to go and work on it.
That's his
plan after this mission. I thought that was quite interesting how that's become a subject of conversation recently. Everybody else on the ship hates the dogs. Nobody has a relationship with the dogs. They all can't stand them. Yeah. That's revealed quite early on. Jorgensen says to the captain, I don't think Ivor's the right guy for you.
Yeah, so are you sure you want to take him?
Yeah, because he's inexperienced. He's not very good at what he does anyway.
And the captain basically goes, well, no one else has
got no other choice. It's got to be him. You can't come. You've got no toes.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to go on an Arctic expedition with my man with no toes.
No. You need them for gripping and...
And Jorgen even says to him, you're not a young man anymore. You need somebody who's going to be able to look after you, maybe. And the captain says, look, the sea opens in July. It will then close again in August. If they're not by the end of August, you need to go.
Yeah.
Leave us. Because...
Bear in mind, this is March.
Yeah.
So they know they're going out for 5 to 6 months.
Yeah, potentially. If we're going out in March...
On their own.
If we're not back by the end of August, leave us.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a big deal. Jorgensen agrees. He says, yeah, that's fine. We will go without you if you're not back by the end of August. And they get ready to go off. And then they do go off. They leave on the dog sled.
They take some photos.
Yeah,
they
do.
Go.
Yeah. They leave on the dog sleds. There's 2 of them. There's maybe 6 dogs each. That's how many dogs maybe die in this movie.
You don't like a caption or a time indicator in the movie.
No, that is true.
There's a lot in this movie. And I didn't mind them.
I think you need them.
Yes, because...
But also,
we'll get into it. These guys are out there for a long time.
Yeah. This also isn't like 3 days later, 6 weeks later. This is telling you what day of the mission we're on at all points. So you do need them. I didn't mind it as much.
Good. I didn't either.
I do have issues with this movie, but that isn't one of them. So they get ready to go off. They leave on the dog sleds, the pair of them. They come immediately to this, like, I guess it's like a mountain made of snow that they've got to scale. It's just like this huge white
hill.
Rock face that they've got to get over, which they do. They get over it and they set up a camp and they go to bed.
Captain very much just ignores Everson rattling on, doesn't he? He's trying to talk to him.
He's a fanboy. He's fanboying over him. He's like, so they go to bed and then instantly it's day 26. One of my issues with this movie is that it does speed through time quite quickly. And
yes, but it has to.
It does have to. I agree with that.
I don't see a better option.
I agree. I will get to my issue with that at the end.
Okay.
But it's not a big issue. I don't want to build it up. But yeah, it does have to. Anyway, Ivor starts singing a little song and they set up camp that night in a storm. The big snowstorm that night. They don't really know what to do, whether they'd let the dogs in the tent or not, but they don't. The captain tells the story of the last mission he went on when he found this diary and this map.
Ivor's like, what happened with the previous expedition? And Captain Mikkelson says, well, I was friends with the leader of that expedition.
Yeah.
He said, the problem is, that guy never knew when to give up.
Yeah. And he reveals that there was a body with the book.
Yeah.
Which he had told the rest of the crew there wasn't, I believe.
But they'd only found one.
Yes, just one guy. Then he does this really cool trick where he ices the sled tracks to make them go faster, which I thought was really cool. He kind of like spits water over them, so it gives it like a real thin layer of ice.
But we've already established Ivar is not an experienced sledder.
Yeah, he's not. He doesn't really...
And he seems to get carried away with how fast they're going here.
Yeah, because they can go really fast now.
Yeah. And he loses control of his sled.
He does. The captain turns to him and says, the dogs can smell land, you need to slow down.
Yeah.
Because
they're overexcited, yeah.
They need to slow down. And he tries to make them stop, and he doesn't. And he actually falls off the dog sled himself.
Yeah.
And the dogs fall over a cliff.
Yeah.
They take the whole...
The sled goes sort of hanging over the edge.
Yeah, it's kind of hanging over the edge. So Ivar goes down to try and get it back and realizes that his favourite dog...
The lead dog.
Bjorn, the one he has made a relationship with, not that kind of relationship, it's not that sort of movie, is perilously hanging from a rope over a cavern, and is yelping quite badly that this dog is in pain, and all the other dogs are going crazy.
I didn't think this was very well edited, because I've literally 2 to 3 minutes ago seen them haul and pull a huge sled up a mountain.
Yes.
And they seem to really struggle to pull this one dog up on a rope.
It's just hanging from a rope around its waist.
Yeah.
And they don't manage to do it.
Well, no, because then the rope snags and it frays, and okay, that's a bit different. But I do feel like, why was the drama of... Because they're a month in.
The captain wasn't helping.
It's one dog.
I think maybe the captain was trying to make a point of this one dog, let him go. But Ivar was desperately trying to rescue this dog. Unfortunately, the dog falls to its grisly death.
Yeah. Also, Ivar then has to do a catalogue of what's left. It turns out they lost 2 weeks worth of dog food.
Yeah.
Half a can of tea, and a can of paraffin.
Yeah.
For their stove.
That's a lot of stuff to have lost. But they are now off the ice cap and they are on land. They're travelling on land, which is better, I suppose. Ivar says to the captain, "Why do you do this? Why do you live this life? Have you not got anybody at home?" He says, "I do what I'm good at, the same as you do with fixing engines. I do."
He says it's all he knows.
It's all I know. It's all I've ever
we're on to
done.
day 48 right now.
And he even says, "I don't have anybody." He does say at this point, "I don't have anybody at home."
Yeah,
which is.
And then I felt like I missed a bit here, because they just look at these postcards of these nurses outside the hospital.
Ivar stole some pictures from the ship before he left of some women standing outside a hospital. I think it was basically like 1909 porn. I think that's what this was.
It was just like a team photo
of a load of really small photo of a load of nurses.
But basically, it's the only picture of women they've got. So they're like, oh, that's... Ivar's made like character stories.
Gives them character names.
Yeah.
And the captain picks one, and he kind of like, I'm going to call this one Naya.
Yeah.
Which is, we later find out, his girlfriend's name. And they kind of bond over it though, a little bit. They're like talking about how hot all these different nurses are. And it does come up quite often in the film. It's like there's kind of big theme in the film now. And the captain dreams that night of waking up next to Naya.
Yes.
It's the first time we see a lady in this movie.
Iverson proves useful because he manages to fix like the broken paraffin burner.
Yeah, that stops working. And he fixes it.
And then he has to shoot a dog.
He does.
Because they need dog food.
They need dog food, so you shoot the weakest dog.
And they feed it to the other dogs.
To the other dogs. And he does do it. He does no hesitation. He does manage to do it. He has no choice. And Captain says to him, look, we need to go half rations now. We're running rapidly out of food, much quicker than we should be. And we cut to day 84.
Yes, and that conversation is kind of moved on a bit. The supplies are low.
Very low.
Iverson sort of gingerly says, well, what's the point at which we should turn back?
Yeah. Not happening.
It's not in Mickelson's mind.
No, not even in his vocabulary. And then
Mikkelson says, we're moving down to one sledge.
Yeah.
We're leaving this one here. Load everything up on one sledge.
Yeah. Let's move on.
Carry on.
And then as they're doing that, in the distance, the captain spots a cairn.
A really obvious cairn. It's like, because it does that whole sort of epic. What we haven't mentioned yet is this is filmed on location in actual Greenland.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it looks amazing.
It's beautiful.
The cinematography is beautiful.
It really is.
And yeah, we do this whole sort of sweeping, squinting. What's that? And it's just it's quite close.
Yeah.
A really obvious cairn.
Yeah.
Not very far away, which they run over to.
They do. They run to it. Somebody on the ship earlier in the film describes their mission as like walking from Moscow to Rome looking for a pile of rocks.
Yeah.
Which really puts it into perspective of what these guys have just done. This film was also there's hardly any CGI used in this film, so these guys really were going for it out here in deepest, darkest Greenland. It couldn't have been an easy film to film.
I'm sure.
A lot more difficult than Peaky Blinders. And in the cairn, what do they find in the cairn? They find a camp. Not in the cairn, but at the cairn, they find a camp.
Yes, they do.
And in the cairn, they find some supplies and a note.
Yeah, there's some rations, there's some cans of soup, and there's some documents, some important documents.
Very important documents, because these documents reveal that the previous Denmark expedition had completed their mission. They have mapped the area of Greenland that the Americans are staking claim to.
And the channel does not exist.
The channel does not exist, and Greenland is one huge piece of land.
Yeah.
Which is everything the captain wanted. That is what... There's a success. Everybody wants that.
The United States has no claim to this land.
Yeah, exactly.
It's proof.
The note also reveals that the mission was complete and they are heading back to their ship.
Yeah.
Which we know they didn't arrive at. So then, as a celebration, they cook one of the tins of soup that they found.
Yeah.
Have some nice oxtail soup. And now they can start heading back.
That's the boat, yeah.
That's the mission complete. We can start heading back. And then we skip forward another 50 days to day 132.
Indeed.
And one of the dogs just drops dead of exhaustion.
Yeah.
It's quite harrowing. It's just...
Yeah, it's not nice, is it?
It just falls over and dies. So it's also not nice when they butcher it in front of everybody. So again, there's a lot of triggers for dog lovers in this film. But Ivor says, look, I fed the dogs, but there's not much meat on that dog.
Yeah.
It's all skin and bones. Do you think we could eat the liver?
Yeah, plonk, here it is, in a can.
Turns out, they're not sure if you can eat dog liver. It's not something they've ever thought about doing before. And
then Captain Mikkelson says, What's that old wives' tale?
Yeah.
If you've got silver.
If something's poisonous, so it will change the colour of silver.
Yeah, if you're boiling it with the silver.
So they cook up this... He's got almost like a St. Christopher around his neck.
Yeah, it's like a pendant. Yeah.
Pendant around his neck. So they cook up this liver and then they stick this silver pendant in it. But what they don't know is what colour it's supposed to turn. So they just assume green, because green is bad.
So they're debating if it's gone a bit brown.
Yeah, it's not gone green.
Yeah.
But it has gone a bit brown. But they think, fuck it, we'll just eat this liver anyway. Also, dogs' livers are quite big. There was a lot of meat on it. They shouldn't have eaten it. They both get quite ill from it.
They do.
They both throw up. And all sorts of horrible stuff goes on.
We suddenly seem to be down to only 3 dogs.
Yeah.
There's been more off-camera dog death.
There's been a lot of dog death.
3 dogs, 1 sled, 2 men.
Yeah. Ivor goes off to see if he can find any wildlife that they can shoot and kill.
Yeah.
And he does see a seal in the distance.
He does. I'm not sure how he was going to get to this seal.
I think he was just going to shoot it. I don't know how he was going to do after that.
Yeah, because it was on a piece of ice, but there was quite a bit of open water between Ivor and the seal.
Shoot it and then worry about that afterwards.
Fine.
Was his plan. But unfortunately, the dogs scare it off. The dogs start barking, and this seal jumps back into the ocean. And then all of a sudden, he hears gunshots.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God, the captain shot the dogs.
Captain shot all the dogs. And Ivor runs back, and he runs back past the bodies of a couple more dogs. And when he turns the corner, what would he see?
Captain Mikkelson is being mounted by a polar bear.
Yes, a fucking massive polar bear is on top of the captain. It actually looked quite good. I presume this was the only use of CGI in the movie.
It was all right until we got a closer look.
That's exactly what I was going to say. From a distance, it was fine. Yeah. When we got a bit closer to it, it was a bit CGI.
Yeah.
Ivor shoots it, miss it. Well, he hits the first time, but it doesn't scare it off.
Yeah.
Shoots it again and kills it, I assume.
Yeah.
Because it collapsed straight on top of the captain.
And they both slide into the water.
Barrel through the ice into the water.
Yeah.
Also,
the captain's still tied to the sled.
So the captain's dropping, and that is now edging towards the water, which would have been certain death for both of them if the sled had have gone underwater. Ivor manages to pull him out. He couldn't pull up a dog earlier, but he can pull up a fully grown human.
Yeah, sure.
The captain doesn't appear to have any ill effects from being in this cold water.
No, so he
goes to bed for a bit.
Yeah,
then he wakes up and he's all right.
They camp up there, and their bigger worry seems to be, well, Captain says it out loud, doesn't he? He says, if only we'd have managed to get the bear, that would have been it. We'd have been fine for food for the rest of the way back.
Yeah, forever, I would think.
Yeah.
Take a long time to eat a bear. It also killed 2 more dogs, the polar bear. So
1 dog left.
1 dog left. That night, while the captain's in bed trying to get warm, they chat about missing female company again.
Yeah, they like swap virginity stories.
They do, yeah. Ivar's granddad brought him a prostitute for his 16th birthday, and the captain's dad took him to a VD hospital for his 16th birthday.
Put him off.
To put him off, so they've had a very different upbringing. Next morning, Captain burns everything not vital. Everything they don't need, he burns it.
Smashes the sled up.
Smashes the sled up again. They're going to walk. The rest of it doing. We can't have a sled now. There's no dogs to pull it. We've only got 1 dog left.
And Captain Mikkelson says it's 200 miles.
Yep, 200 miles back to the ship.
We've got to travel light.
Let's get rid of everything we don't need.
Carry the tent on their back.
Yep. Cut to day 164. Just the 2 of them now. They now have no dogs.
The last dog died in the tent. A tent, didn't it?
Yes. They climb a ridge. The captain looks at the map, but he doesn't seem confident that he knows where they are. He looks kind of lost a little bit.
I thought that at first, but is that because is this a dig at the acting skills of
maybe?
I don't know, because I thought exactly the same thing, and I think what he was trying to emote was that, oh no, I've got to make a decision.
Yeah.
Do we walk? The ice is melting. Do we try and cross this river here because it's a lot shorter, or do we add on miles and miles and miles and days because we've got to go around?
So what he decides to do is build a cairn himself.
Yeah.
Leave the evidence there.
Yeah. And
in case they don't make it over this ice.
To which Ivor instantly says, "You don't think we're going to make it, do you?"
Yeah. Which he clearly didn't, because. So he builds a cairn, leaves this proof inside. I've written, pops the proof inside. And then they walk a bit further. Ivor tries to have a lie down. I think he's just exhausted. The captain's like, no, come on. And then in the distance, they see a ship's mast.
So, yes, time has passed. Yeah.
Time has passed. Well, we're on day 164. They found the cairn at day 81. So we're about halfway in between the two. So they think it's their ship. They're like, oh, there's our ship in the distance. They get to the mast, and the mast is on land.
Yeah.
It is
like a lookout.
Almost like a lookout point. And they look over the edge, and the ship is just a hull. Or husk
in
of a ship.
Pieces in the ice.
It is. It is trapped in the ice and is no longer a ship. It is a bare bones. So they go down to it. There's nobody there, but a hut has been built out of the remains of the ship.
Yeah. We know this because the name of the ship, the Alabama, is like above the door of the hut.
Nobody's there. And then we cut away from the Arctic for the first time. We're now in a, I guess, courtroom.
Politicians,
back in Denmark.
There's some sort of hearing going on.
This is the first time we meet Charles Dance in this movie. And the 2 guys, Jorgensen and the other guy, I don't know the other guy's name, one of the other sailors, are being questioned about why they left 2 people in the Arctic alone.
Yeah, and it turns out they hopped a lift back on a whaling ship.
Their ship was crushed by the ice, destroyed. They had no choice. They left enough food for a year in this cabin.
And built the hut and the storage.
But they had to leave. They had no choice.
And basically, they're at this hearing appealing for money from the government
to go back,
to go and rescue Ivor and Ejnar.
The minister's biggest question there is, why did a inexperienced greenhorn like Ivor stay behind, and you 2 experienced sailors come home? That's what he wanted to know. I think he implies that they're cowards. They shouldn't have allowed it, and he says, you are not having any money for a return trip.
So Jorgensen kind of says, well, what about a reward? If you won't fund an expedition, can we put up a reward?
Yeah. We don't get an answer to that at this point. And then the film cuts to day 242.
Yeah.
And these 2 guys now are living in this cabin. They seem to have been there for a long time. They've made it quite homeless.
Ivor's quite down.
Yeah.
Captain's still really positive.
He is really positive. He says, a ship will come late summer next year. Is what he says. Yeah. That's a long time to wait in a cabin. He tells a story about when he was younger, he wanted to go off and go on a hot air balloon with a guy who was trying to map the North Pole on a hot air balloon. He was 15, but he wasn't allowed to go. Ivor gets a gramophone working.
Yeah, they've
got some music.
Find and repair that, don't they?
Yeah. And then the captain has a dream of a polar bear, the polar bear they met earlier, destroying the cairn that they built.
Yeah.
And it's like a nightmare for him, because nothing is more important to this captain's life than getting that evidence back to Denmark. Sure. So he wakes up Ivor after he wakes up from this nightmare, and he says, we need to go back.
Yeah.
to this cairn to get this evidence that we should never have left there in the first place. We need to go back.
I wasn't expecting this twist.
No. Nor was I, to be fair.
We're going back out.
We're going back out again. So
200 miles there, 200 miles back.
Yep. And Ivor says, let's at least leave a note.
Yeah.
To say, we've been here. We have gone back out to get the evidence. Let people know that the evidence is there. We've gone back. The captain says there is no point leaving a note. We will be back before the ice breaks anyway.
Yeah.
Day 439 is the next point.
They're at the cairn.
They get to the cairn.
So we've just
200 days later.
That 200 miles is done. We're there.
Yep. The cairn though is destroyed. The captain's
it's caved. It has collapsed.
The
slightly.
Captain feels like his nightmare has come true, but luckily the evidence is still there,
and it's fine. It's protected.
It is protected. It is fine. He takes it back with him. They're like, right, let's turn around and go back.
He says to Iverson, "There's truth in every dream. Look, it's a good job we came back. Something's happened here."
So they walk a bit further. They find a motor car buried in the snow.
Yes,
because it turns out the original Denmark expedition had a motor car.
Yeah,
which I don't think would have been much use, but they find one.
At this point, I was literally like, is this movie going to go schmaltzy and Ivor's going to fix it and they're going to drive back?
Oh, I'd have hated that. I'm glad that didn't happen. They have like a moment in the car, but they do leave it. Day 471, days are passing. They get back to the cabin. It only takes them less than 40 days to get back to the cabin. Took them nearly 200 to get to the cairn. When they get back to the cabin, the door's open.
Yeah, because they'd boarded it up.
When they left, Ivor boarded the door up. But it is open, and there is a note inside saying someone has been looking for them.
It said July 23rd, 1911.
Yep.
Bear in mind, we started this at Christmas 1909. The note says, looking for Ejnar Mikkelson, no sign.
Yep. The captain... Go on.
To which Mikkelson said, he just looks at Ivor and says, just say it. Yes, we should have left a fucking note.
Yeah, he goes a bit mental. He starts smashing shit up. He smashes up their last sled that they've got. He just goes on a bit of a rampage, the captain, at this point. Jorgensen again back in Denmark. Jorgen goes back to see the minister, and he says, "Look, we're back. When we got there, the cabin was boarded.
They hadn't been.
Somebody had been.
Yeah, a passing ship, wasn't it?"
He said, "We didn't board up the cabin, but they found the cabin boarded up.
Yeah,
which means that someone's
used it."
But whilst he's talking about this, there's a newspaper on the table which has Mikkelson's obituary in.
Yeah.
So the government have given up on him.
And Jorgensen, his final plea to the minister is sort of, if we give up on those two, you're giving up on Greenland.
Yeah.
But even that's not enough.
Doesn't seem to be enough.
The minister says, time's up.
Yep. Yeah. And then when we get back, it's Christmas in the hut.
Yeah.
And
2 years on we are now from where we started this movie.
So Mikkelsen says to Ivor, "Is this our first Christmas in the hut?" And Ivor says, "No, this is our second Christmas in the hut, our third Christmas in Greenland." Wow. Then they discuss briefly if they could eat each other if needs be.
Yeah, and Ivor's like, "I could eat you if you had no hands."
Yeah, I can't. It's the hands that make you human.
Yeah, make you different from the animals.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I think is fair. I don't know. Day 793.
So basically another year on.
Captain goes to climb the mast. Just to basically have a look, I think. Just to see if anybody's coming.
This is a daily task.
Yeah. He sees a hot air balloon in the distance.
Yeah.
And the hot air balloon crashes to earth just right next to him. And inside is a woman, but it is not only a woman, it is Naya.
The woman from the postcard.
The woman from the postcard. This is obviously not real. He is having hallucinations. He's not in a good way. He kind of sees her all the time from now on. And she says, "Is it worth it?" She has conversations. It's basically his inner monologue saying,
"Sure,
was this worth it? Is discovering Greenland worth everything you put yourself through?" And the captain says to her, "I'm getting worried about Ivor. I think he's going a bit mad." As he's talking to this invisible lady.
He said, "We need to keep an eye on him."
Yeah.
He's also got some kind of weird neck boil developing.
Yes, he's got some sort of boil
infected thing.
Ivor then also sees a man who isn't there.
Yeah. Which
turns out to be, he says, because he goes back to the cabin and says, "Do you believe in ghosts?"
He says, I think I've just seen my grandfather.
Who wasn't dead when we left.
Yeah.
But he may be now. Naya says to the captain, "Why did it have to be you? It could have been somebody else. You know nobody's coming for you." And he starts crying in her arms. And Ivar doesn't see any of this, but we kind of see he's just crying on a rock. Then they have a dance together, which Ivar does see.
Yes.
And it's basically the captain dancing around in the cabin on his own, whilst looks like he should be with a woman.
And the captain sort of shoos Ivar away because like he has really interrupted this intimate moment with his ghost girlfriend.
And this is where he says to Ivar, "You need to lance this massive boil thing I've got on my neck because it needs to go because it's disgusting and this lady doesn't want to look at me who isn't even there." Which he does, and it's possibly the most gruesome scene in the film.
It's a proper...
I hate this sort of stuff. You do it over a bucket of water and all this grizzle drops into the water as he does it. And the captain then passes out. He then wakes up in bed a little bit later on.
And I thought this was a little twist because I thought, he's going to start feeling better. That's going to sort of be the end of the sort of ghostly visits. But no,
it was not. He says, "I dreamed."
Ivar says to the captain.
Well, the captain says he dreamed he was home.
Yes.
Ivar then says, "I dreamed I was with that girl that you like in that picture."
Oh yeah, it was a naughty dream.
It wasn't a good dream. The captain gets very jealous and attacks Ivar.
Yeah. I would say they have a fight, but it's more like a hug.
Yeah,
they're both absolutely exhausted, clearly.
Yeah. He tries to shoot it. He gets the gun, doesn't he? Pulls the shotgun off the wall.
Mikkelson does.
Mikkelson does. And points it at Ivar. And Ivar's screaming at him, "It's not real. Whatever you can see is not real."
Yeah, and so is Naya.
And Naya's saying the same thing. And then the captain turns the gun and shoots it at Naya, who isn't there, obviously. So then Ivar's like, "Right, I'm going to fucking hide this gun now because this guy's going crazy." So he takes they've got like a little mini cabin there where the supplies are outside. Yeah. So he goes and hides the gun in there. The captain apologises.
They also hide the postcard.
Yes, because that is not good for them.
Yeah.
Porn's not good. Ivar then says, "Look, we're running out of food. We've got barely any food left. We've been here over a year longer than we should have been. And also, we've only got one shotgun cartridge left now," which I thought was quite a nice.
Very passively aggressive.
Yeah. And then as they're having this conversation, they hear a noise outside.
Yeah.
Guess what it is?
Bloody polar bear again.
Polar bear's turned up.
Knocking on the windows.
I'm assuming it's not the same one because that one was dead from earlier, but he's knocking on the windows. The gun, unfortunately, is in the storage shed. So they don't have the gun. So they try and scare it off. They just make as much noise as they can inside the cabin. And it works, to be fair. They do successfully scare it off. And then it's day 865.
Yeah.
Is this the longest movie we've ever done in terms of timeline?
But I don't know, because there might be something that's like covers years and years, but
possibly.
I was not knowing this real story. Obviously, I thought this whole my preconception of this movie with the whole thing was it was going to be this journey there and back.
Yeah,
and it's only such a small part of the story.
Yeah, absolutely. Most of the movie takes place after the journey while they're waiting in this cabin. Day 165, they wake up and they can hear footsteps outside.
Well, noise again.
Noise outside.
I was like, "Captain, the bear's back."
So they run out screaming. They've got the shotgun this time. They run out screaming. And when they get out there, there's people out there.
Yeah.
Like 5 or 6 sailors. And it's Jorgensen.
Is it? No, I didn't think it was Jorgensen, was it?
It was.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was him and his men. And he says, "You're safe now." And then the minister gets a message delivered to him to presumably
telegram.
Yeah. And they...
It says, "We've found Mikkelson and Iverson.
Yeah.
We have the proof.
Yeah.
We're en route back."
And then the next scene, they're back. They're getting a nice shave, sitting in a barber's. It's lovely. Getting their beard shaved off. And then the minister is making a speech in some sort of like government area.
Yeah, and just to double down the sort of nastiness of it, he says, "We never gave up hope. We've played a part in rescuing these great explorers."
These heroes. He calls them heroes. And these two are waiting backstage. They're all suited up now. They've got cleanly shaven. They've had haircuts. And Ivar turns to the captain and he says, "Do you remember that boat we were talking about back on the ship?" And he's like, "It sank.
Yeah.
It was bad times." And the captain's like, "Oh, that was lucky. You wanted to go and work on that." The captain thanks him for basically saving his life. He
says, "I couldn't have done it without you."
Yeah. And in the background, you can hear the minister say, "The United States have given up their claim on Greenland," and acknowledges that Greenland is part of whatever.
Yeah, it's Denmark.
And then in the background, behind Mikkelson, you can see a lady turn up. And Mikkelson sees her, and he says to Ivar, "That lady over there, is she real?"
Yeah.
And Ivar says, "Yes, that lady over there is real." And they go and have a kiss whilst the minister's trying to bring them out on the stage. They're not coming because they've had having a reunion with Naya. And then he does bring them out on the stage. And the audience cheer them, and the movie ends with them arms aloft in front of this crowd of people. The end. And there's a bit of like what happened to the real people afterwards. It says Ejnar and Naya married. Ivor never went back to the Arctic, didn't want to ever go back, and they remained friends for the rest of their lives.
And then over the end credits, we see actual photographs from the expedition.
Yeah.
There's a picture of when Ejnar when they were found in the cabin, and it's like he looks like a madman.
Yeah. Well, he was a madman.
Yeah. But do you want to know something really... Before we say what we thought about this movie, do you want to know something really fascinating?
Yes.
In 2010, a research vessel was in the area of the Alabama cabin.
Okay.
And it found it. In 2010, it was still standing.
No way.
Do you know what the name of the boat was?
Go on.
The Ejnar Mikkelson.
No.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
How was it still standing 100 years later in those conditions? Those guys knew how to build a cabin from a boat.
I guess it's not.
How to build a boat.
As long as it can stand the wind and the snow, it's not gonna rot, corrode or whatever.
No, I suppose it's wood, boat wood, ship wood.
Yeah, still there.
As
of 2010, still there.
Polar bear never went back and took it down. Yeah. Crazy. That's mental.
Yeah.
What a great story. What did you think, Nick?
There's a great story here.
Yes. Agreed.
The real life story here is incredible.
Yeah.
This movie doesn't quite nail it.
That's interesting. I didn't think that's where you were going. Okay. I agree. I completely agree. I don't think it does either.
This movie looks great. I think the acting's pretty good.
Yeah.
I think Joe Cole is a lot better than
Nikolaj Coster-Waldau.
Yeah, I don't know why my mind is completely blank. I think, to put it simply, my biggest problem with this movie is I don't think the script's very good.
Yes, I think you're right.
It's clunky and it doesn't do the characters service.
Justice, I agree.
Yeah.
My biggest problem with this movie is that a lot of time passes in this movie and it is only told to us through these title cards. Nothing else indicates a passage of time.
And that's a problem with the script.
It is a problem with the script, yeah.
It's lazy to just rely on the title card.
Yeah, I agree. They don't change their clothes. They don't age. Their beards don't even grow.
Not really, no.
They don't look any different from when they leave to when they get back, and that's my biggest problem, I think. There's nothing that indicates... I never felt like these guys were in any real danger because, as far as I'm concerned, it could have all happened in one day. Nothing changes enough in the movie to indicate that time is passing, especially that much time is passing.
Yeah.
870 odd days or whatever it was. That's my biggest problem with this movie. It didn't feel like there was any peril.
If you look at something like, I don't know, what's a Castaway or something, there's like, yeah, once they were back at the hut, so I felt there was peril in the original trek there and back.
Yeah.
But we didn't get enough of that stir crazy build up and I felt like I was filling in the blanks.
Yeah, I agree. That being said, I think I enjoyed it more from the moment the captain started to go a bit mad. I think from that point on, I was like, I'm quite into this at this point.
I didn't dislike this movie.
I didn't either. No, I don't want to put it out there. I didn't either. I do
feel it felt like a bit of a missed opportunity.
It could have been better with a decent director and writer. Yeah. It was written by Nikolaj Coster-Waldau as well.
Yeah.
The passage of time was a problem for me. I didn't feel like there was any peril, but I did feel like it got better the more crazy this guy went.
But considering he was a co-writer on it, there wasn't much like opportunity for like scenery chewing and stuff.
No, there wasn't.
When this is essentially a 2-person movie.
Yeah, and like you said, I think Joe Cole's really good in it. I'm not sure about. I've never really been convinced by Nikolaj.
Yeah.
With 2 better people doing it, maybe it would have been a better movie. But I think it is the script that lets it down.
Yeah. That was my takeaway from it.
I think I'm surprised by this. I thought you would have been all in on this.
No, I enjoyed. I would say overall I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
and I was keen to see it through, and I was genuinely interested. But it's an amazing story.
The story is really interesting. It's just the script doesn't tell it very well.
But I was just as interested after reading about the actual real story as I was watching this movie, and it just. I think it was a missed opportunity to really hit some strong emotional notes and make me feel something, and I didn't, not for the people anyway. It was sad about the dogs, don't get me wrong, but
I possibly think this might be better as a TV show. There's too much time to get into an hour and a half movie here. 2-3 years of these guys' lives is cut down to an hour and a half, and that's why you didn't really get any feel of danger to them. Like when he falls in the water.
Yeah,
with the polar bear on top of him, he would have got all sorts of
problems. Because my first thought was, oh my god, back in 1909, have they got any spare clothes? Because they're travelling light.
Exactly. He should. But we then cut 200 days later.
Yeah, so there's missed
even
drama.
Even if he did get ill, he's over it, and there is missed drama. That's a great way of putting it. And
like even when they're back at the hut, what did they? Was there never a storm that was rattling the windows and tiles flying off the hut, and
it seemed like a really nice hut.
Yeah,
you could just like an Airbnb that you could go to.
So
there was not enough peril.
Here's a question then: given particularly yours, to a lesser extent mine, like complaints about movies desiring to be a certain length. If this was half an hour longer,
I don't think it's still enough time.
Would that have helped? Maybe if you've got more, you can put more of that in.
I feel like it's a
miniseries.
That
put you off?
I feel like this is a 8 or 9, 10 episode miniseries.
Yeah.
Just do it properly and tell this story of these two guys over 3 years. You could do that over 10 hours. You'd make a really good TV show out of it. It just feels too rushed.
The ministerial type scenes were added, nothing really either, did they?
Didn't need them.
Again, you can expand on some of that if you had more time. You had a miniseries. Yeah. Actually, you could make Jorgensen a proper character and show him really fighting for his friends who were coming stuck and out
eventually he obviously figured out a way to get there and rescue them.
And that's all just either on the cutting room floor or
it doesn't exist. It's not there. There's too much time and too much story to tell for an hour and 45-minute movie.
Yeah.
That's my biggest problem with it.
It's flawed.
Yeah, very much so.
But this is a great story that I know that deserves to exist and be told.
That being said,
format.
All that being said, this is still a decent movie.
Yeah, it is.
It looks really nice. The acting's adequate. There's a story there that's told.
Yeah.
This is still a good film. It's just not as good as it could have been.
Yeah, I agree.
What's the best thing about it?
Is it too much of a cop-out to say it's the cinematography?
No,
it's Greenland.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's beautiful, yet it's awful. It's harsh.
It must have been a horrible movie to film. However long they were on location for, must have been horrendous.
Yeah. Especially
for somebody young and inexperienced like Joe Cole is. I mean, he's done a few things, but he's never done that sort of working in that environment. Would have been a nightmare.
Yeah, it is. It's the cinematography.
It is the cinematography, you're right. What would you change about it?
Script.
Yeah.
Rewrite it.
Get a writer to write it.
Paper thin.
Yeah. You need a writer to write it, don't you? Not an actor.
It's almost like they've gone, we don't need to worry about the script that much because the story is so incredible.
Yeah.
But it's a missed opportunity to make a proper good movie.
Yeah, agreed. Shall we talk Stream Table?
Sure.
So currently we've got 5 films in the Stream Table. This is the 6th film of season 9. Currently number 5 is Buddy Games. Number 4 is Freaks, You're One of Us. Number 3 is Mercy. Number 2 is Sweet Girl. And number 1 currently is Catty Catty. You know what, another thing I hate about Buddy Games?
What's that?
It's not called The Buddy Games.
Yeah.
It's just called Buddy Games.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Anyway, where does this movie fit in that table, Nick?
So the debate for me is this first or second?
Yeah.
Oh, straight.
Which is weird when we've just said what we didn't like about it for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, but it can still... That's fine. Yeah. We've said it's still a decent movie, but it has missed opportunities. I think it's better than Sweet Girl, Mercy, and Freaks.
Oh yeah, 100% it is.
So it's at least the second best movie we've seen. I think it then comes down to personal preference.
Yeah,
as regards to Catty Catty.
Catty Catty's a great movie. It's an unusual movie. It's a very strange movie.
Yeah.
It's not the sort of movie I'm going to watch again. I'm going to come back to this old thing of if I'm going to watch one of them again, I'm probably going to pick this.
And the argument also is, despite all the flaws of this movie, it is still an achievement when you look at the terrain, the cinematography, this is the scale of this movie is above and beyond anything we've seen so far this season.
Yeah, it's a proper movie.
Yeah.
I personally...
Both flawed.
Both
movies,
flawed.
Which have got positives and negatives.
Personally, I think this is the best movie we've seen this season.
I think that's where I'm leaning.
Which is a strange thing to say, because I feel like we've been more negative about it than we have been positive. But it's in this movie's favour that it's so early in this season. Because I don't think it'll be the best movie we see this season. I hope it isn't.
I don't know if I'd recommend this movie. I don't think I'd be shouting about the rooftops about this movie, but I wouldn't not recommend it. Does that make sense?
There's certain people that would like this movie and certain people that wouldn't.
But
there's people that would
miss the mark for me where it could have gone up that. Yeah, it could have landed.
As a miniseries, this is a better told story.
Yeah.
We say number 1.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think so.
I do as well. Wow. Okay. New stream table topper is Against the Ice, which means we need to pick next week's movie.
Let's do it.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
What would you like?
Let's go with I fancy a horror.
We haven't done a horror for a while. I was thinking that the other day. You ready for Robin?
Yeah, let's do it.
He has picked a movie called Don't Listen. Any ideas?
No, none whatsoever.
Do you know what's quite funny about that?
Yeah.
Is that we're going to have to release a podcast episode, and the title of that episode is going to be Don't Listen.
Oh, yeah. Maybe that will. Maybe we're like reverse psychology.
Reverse psychology.
It might become our most downloaded episode ever.
Maybe. Don't Listen is Spanish.
Oh, okay.
We haven't done a Spanish movie for a little while.
No, we haven't.
But they always tend to do well on the show.
Yeah, they do well.
Do you want to know the genre of this movie?
Yes, please.
It is an adventure drama horror mystery thriller.
Okay.
From 2020.
Adventure drama.
It's an 18. How do many 18s do we?
No, we don't.
And synopsis?
Yes, please.
Daniel and Sarah have a 9-year-old son, Eric, and they've just moved to a new home, not knowing that the neighbours call it the House of the Voices. Eric is the first one to notice the odd noises behind each door.
Okay.
6.1 on IMDb.
Okay.
Staying in the 6s.
Okay. Cool. I'm intrigued. I feel like we've not done a...
We haven't done a horror for a while. We haven't done a Spanish film for a while. So yeah, go out and watch Don't Listen. And in the meantime, check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and Letterboxd at BOTS_podcast is our username on all of those. If you want to drop us an email, our email address is bottomofthestream@gmail.com, and our website is bottomofthestream.com. On our website, you'll find every episode we've ever recorded, loads of other cool stuff, and you can even find some merch if you want to buy a Bottom of the Stream
dog food.
After you've done all of that, head over to Patreon, patreon.com/bottomofthestream. On there, for £5 a month, you will get early access to the movie show episode. Loads of other cool stuff. I can't even think of what you get. You get a poster. I've got the posters. The posters are ready to go out.
Amazing.
Nick has one right next to him right now. He loves it. Some mobile phone wallpapers with Bottom of the Stream logos on. They're cool.
A secret Discord area.
A secret Discord area. And that works automatically. As soon as you sign up to Patreon, you'll be in that Discord area.
Wow.
It works as well. Because we have a new Patreon. We should mention him. His name's Alex. He goes by Smileyton. He's a great guy, and he's a new Patreon. He'll be playing a wild card this season, which is exciting. 5 wild cards this season.
Yeah.
5 wild card season. Head over to Patreon, patreon.com/bottomofthestream. It's only £5 a month. It's well worth it. After you've done all of that, head over to Discord. The Discord is a wonderful group of wonderful people who will talk to you about anything and everything. You can get involved in the real talks. You can get involved in our watch. I think have we got a watch along this Sunday?
I believe we have.
We have. That would have happened by now, but we do a watch along the first Sunday of every month, except for this month when we've done it the second Sunday. We watch movies together. We play games together. We do all sorts of cool stuff together. We're a great community that you should come and join. And if you want to join, the Discord link is at the bottom of the show notes.
If you can spare a few minutes, please consider leaving us a rating or a review anywhere you can review and rate podcasts, because it really helps the old algorithms. It helps get our little show in the ears of more people, and that's what we want. We want to make new friends, because
friends are cool.
We should have as many as possible.
100%. There's always room for more friends.
And you get to watch movies like the Buddy Games, and you can hear us talk about them.
But sometimes you get to watch movies like Against the Ice.
Exactly.
So
it evens out. You can find us anywhere you find podcasts. That can be places like Podbean, Podchaser, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Listen Notes, iHeartRadio.
No, stop saying iHeartRadio.
Pandora, all of those places.
Not Stitcher anymore.
No. Well, yes, but only for a little while.
So yeah, do all of that. Go out and watch. I've already forgotten. Don't listen. Go out and watch, but don't listen. And we'll be back on Monday for The Wave and next Thursday for The Movie Show.
Cheers.
Bye.